that 90s show out January 19th on Netflix. And I'm going to be using black obsidian arrowhead. This is to cut off any negative energies that are blocking you from receiving good luck or unleashing just how powerful you are. And that's one thing that I felt this show lacked. So let's just dive into some plucking and aura fluffing with my little black obsidian arrowhead. Let's do it. Okay, so if you watch the trailer to that 90s show, you kind of were probably like me, that you felt like, is this going to be the Disney Channel version of that 70s show? It kind of looked like, one thing about that 70s show is that you felt you were in the 70s. Whereas that 90s show, you don't really feel like you're in the 90s. You feel you're in like a vintage shop version of the 90s. Like you went to a thrift store that was 90s themed. It doesn't fully embrace the timeline, or it doesn't feel like it's in that timeline except for like a few references, you know? And I don't know if it's that 70s show was such a drastic difference to now in terms of looks and aesthetic, or it just made it more casual. But I didn't feel like we're full 90s. And I also didn't feel that compared to the original, it was as funny or as crazy. One thing about that 70s show that I have to say, it has become really, really popular as a like binge watch. At least once in your life, you're going to dedicate a month to watching all 8 seasons and be super surprised by how funny this show is, how risque, and like the whole point of this show was how a bunch of outcasts who were like this odd blend of smart and stupid found each other and made a solid friendship. Because I think that's what friendship is, like just finding somebody who matches your crazy and weird and laughing with them and getting into adventures with them. And you don't feel that easy camaraderie with the new cast. And I think it's because technically, when we meet everybody in that 70s show, they've been friends for years. These are people who grew up together. Leia, who is Eric and Donna's daughter, is moving into town. She's there for a summer. So she's getting to know people. And I think that's what cuts the rebelliousness, or at least, I don't know, when I binged watched that 70s show and I loved it. And I was like, this was kind of like, there was just something so goofy and like boundary pushing about them. And I didn't feel that with that 90s show. I felt like it was what people thought was rebellion, what people thought was 90s, what people thought was like cool, eccentric characters. But like they all feel like good kids. They would probably be popular. Like nobody feels like a crazy outcast. And I put that in my written review, that you like these kids, you like who they are, but nobody feels like this bullied rebel, you know? And one thing that I did like about the new series is that although I totally appreciated seeing the original cast and like having these guest star appearances, I was very happy to also like have them be away, you know? Like you do feel by the end of the series that you're getting to know these new characters, and they do get a chance to shine. I just wanted more rebellion, more craziness. And I have to say, having Red and Kitty play a bigger role as Leia's grandparents was really, really cool. Like they don't bombard, they don't overwhelm, but they also like, the original thrived. And I think I put this in my written review as well. Like it's about how good kids and their crazy antics just ignite the love and rage of their parents. And I didn't feel that. Like Red doesn't get too angry. Kitty doesn't get too, oh God, Kitty's just a saint, isn't she? There's just not extra. And I think that in some ways, even though that's a bad thing, that's a good thing, because this is definitely going to get a season 2. And I think it could lead, the fact that it just isn't there where it's supposed to be means that it can be found. And you like these characters enough to want to see them thrive, to want to see another season of them. You just wish the show was funnier and crazier. It did get a little like, I don't know, it just felt a little Disney Channel PC. Let's go to the 90s thrift store. I want a cassette tape. It didn't like I wanted. And it gets better with every episode. So I have to admit, I think that's why I was like, I want to see the season 2. I want to see how these writers just go crazier. Because if this ends up like another Ashley Garcia, it kind of felt a little like that, like now that I say it, like the Ashley Garcia series on Netflix, which is also very like, look at us doing Disney Channel. I'm just going to fluff your aura. So yeah, that is my sincere hope for that 90s show. I think it is worth a watch. I think it easily can become very similar to that 70s show, something you have on the backdrop. But I think with that 70s show, it's like a backdrop show, like you're doing your chores and you're doing your homework, but then you like watch it and it's really funny. Whereas that 90s show, there were moments where I was like, continues typing away. But all the characters are great. I think Leia is so cute as Eric and Donna's daughter, and seeing Donna and Eric like be grown but still be silly and always haphazard. Loved it. I think Jay is so good as Jackie and Kelso's son. He's just this right blend of powerful idiocy that I think is just so adorable. And him and Leia, they're so perfect together. And I loved seeing that Jackie and Kelso, even in the future, just can't get their ish together. You see Fez, and he's always fabulous. Gwen and Nate, they play twins with a little bit of a messy mom who has some really humorous moments. I think that they are really cool and foundational to Leia, but I think particularly with Gwen, she's so charming. She could be the next Hyde. She could be that rebellious friend. And I did feel like with every character, they were an echo of the originals. Like Ozzy definitely gives some Fez vibes, but he's not eccentric and weird enough. Or at least he feels like a typecast of what is weird. Whereas in that 70s show, these kids thrived because they thought they were weird, even when they were normal, which Leia has that effect. Very similar to her Star Wars nerd dad, Eric. And as for, I'm trying to remember all the characters. Nate is supposed to be kind of like this Kelso character, but like really sweet, and he's obsessed with Nikki, who's a very Jackie type character, like just strong and knows her boundaries. Like everybody's an echo of the past, but because they're not exactly like the past, they're not exactly like their parents, it's kind of like they're hinged. Like Jay is not a full Kelso, so let Jay be Jay. Leia's the only character that I felt was allowed to be different from the past characters in terms of typecasting their eccentricities. And I'm excited to see more of them. So let me just fluff you up, because I really, 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 really think that they need to unleash the crazy, unleash the rebel, and unleash the funny. Because the funny was in the wildness and how they always had a plan and it just went absolutely kaput, because that's what being a teenager is. It's like living off of dreams that you have no idea how they'll happen, but you're just so present in the moment that you're like, yeah, we could do it. And that's what that show needed. It needed more of that. And I think it could get it. I honestly think so. I think it has enough money, enough support, enough interest, enough Netflix to give it another shot and be better. So, my wish for you in honor of that 90s show, which is in honor of that 70s show, which is in honor of my life, is that you feel rebellious. You feel wild. You own who you are, finally, and stop hiding it. Let it go. Be crazy, be funny, be goofy, make mistakes, and dream big. Because that's what that 70s show is about. That's what I want that 90s show to be about. And find your group of outcasts that will help you do so. All right. Check out diandrareviewsitall.com. That 90s show is out right now.